September 27, 2026. A calm, silent morning. In the heart of Tehran, inside a heavily secured government complex, Iran's top leaders were gathered for a high-level meeting. From the outside, everything looked completely normal. The city moved on, just like any other day. But in reality, at that very moment, some of the world's most powerful intelligence agencies had their eyes locked on that building, because they believed that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was inside. According to multiple international sources, unusual high-level movements inside the building were first detected. That information, gathered through long-term surveillance, was quickly shared, and from that moment, a joint covert operation began, one that would slowly escalate into a full-scale conflict. For months, efforts were underway to infiltrate Iran's communication systems. Satellite surveillance, hacked CCTV feeds, and deep intelligence analysis were used to track the movements of top officials. The objective was not immediate attack, it was confirmation, to be absolutely certain where the real target was. Meanwhile, Iran remained confident in its security. Advanced defense systems and air defense shields across the capital were believed to be strong enough to protect its leadership. That was the assumption. But this war did not begin with weapons. It began with information. Once every movement of key figures came under surveillance, even the most secure locations started to become vulnerable. According to intelligence analysts, this was the most critical phase of the entire operation, because without confirming the target, no strike could ever succeed. In the moment confirmation came, the next phase was set into motion. The people of Tehran had no idea. The city continued its rhythm, but behind the shadows, the war had already begun. After the long phase of surveillance, the operation entered its most decisive stage. The initial goal was not direct assassination. Instead, it was to overwhelm Iran's defense systems, to keep them busy so they wouldn't be able to respond when the real strike came. Reports suggest that the first step was to temporarily weaken Tehran's airspace defenses. For years, Iran had relied heavily on its air defense systems. Radar networks and layered defenses surrounded the capital. They were considered the nation's primary shield. So instead of striking the main target directly, a coordinated distraction campaign began. Multiple explosions were triggered across the city. Security forces were pulled into multiple crises at once. And in that moment of confusion, a massive aerial operation began. Nearly 200 fighter jets launched simultaneously, turning the situation into a carefully orchestrated large-scale attack. Yet inside the city, most people still had no idea what the real target was. Slowly, the scope of the attack began to narrow, moving closer toward a highly secured complex where Iran's top leadership was present. The skies over Tehran grew heavier with tension. Explosions were being reported across the city, but inside that secure complex, the situation was still not seen as critical. And that was the turning point. According to security protocols, leadership should have been moved to the deepest and safest underground shelters, but instead, they remained in a relatively less secure underground facility. Perhaps the situation was underestimated, or perhaps there wasn't enough time to relocate. But that single decision created a critical vulnerability. Months of intelligence data began to align. Analysts became certain. The target was there. And with that confirmation, the operation moved into its final phase. Within moments, everything changed. A massive explosion shook the entire area. Multiple layers of security infrastructure began to collapse. What was once considered impenetrable turned into ruins in seconds. Inside, many had no time to react. Everything changed in an instant. Later, analysts would say, if they had moved deeper into secure shelters, the outcome might have been different. But in modern warfare, a few minutes can change history. After the explosions, silence took over. Smoke and dust covered the heart of Tehran. Rescue teams rushed in, but it quickly became clear this was no ordinary attack. It was a precise, calculated strike. Several high-ranking military and security officials were killed. Shock and anger spread across the nation. The attack was seen as a violation of sovereignty. In that day, people realized war is no longer confined to borders, because when even the most secure places are no longer safe, a question remains: is anywhere truly secure in the modern world? History has shown you can strike leadership, but breaking the spirit of a nation is far more difficult. This was not just a story of destruction, it was the beginning of something far greater, a new phase of conflict.